Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sounds on the Couch. I am really looking forward to introducing our guest for today. So, Leo is a gorgeously authentic, independent artist with a powerful presence and a wicked sense of humor. Although based in Wollongong, the indie folk singer songwriter is currently living and working and traveling in her converted Mercedes Sprinter van up and down the East Coast. With an enchanting voice and a story to tell, Leo uses her songwriting to take her listeners on a journey through her own experiences, creating an intimate and engaging atmosphere. She's performed at countless venues and events, including the iconic Heritage Hotel, Bully, and the Falls Festival in Byron Bay. She's supported well-known country artist Imogen Clark and the founding member of the Clouds, Jodie Phillis. An up-and-comer in the industry, Leo is now working on her debut EP, which will be released later this year. And so I won't keep you waiting any longer. I'm sure you're eager to dive into the questions, so I'll bring her up now. Hi, Leo. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm trying to be less frazzled when I speak to you.
That's okay. Would you like to maybe just start by telling us a little bit about your background and what it was that first got you into music?
To be honest, I think maybe it was Sister Act that got me into music.
Okay. Excellent.
I remember watching it as a kid and just being like, wow, the singing, like, I don't know. I mean, I always loved music, and I started playing the trumpet when I was about 7. And went from that to drums, and then that to guitar, and then singing, and it's always been a part of my life.
Fantastic. And what was it that made you decide to start taking that aspect more seriously?
The fact that I didn't want to do any other job, any proper job, I really struggled with. And I just figured, just give it a proper go. You know, having a normal job meant that I wasn't putting 100% into music because I had a backup plan. I had money coming in. So I got rid of that and then panicked and then had to make really push myself out there.
Wow. And do you think if it wasn't for that decision, you would be where you are today?
No way. I was working at a call center for a while, and that was super depressing. That was the job before I decided you need to just give it 100%. And I think my life would be very different if I hadn't decided that.
And you do live a very free-spirited life as well. You go and drive up the east coast of Australia, traveling all around different towns and presenting your music. And it's a life that so many people would dream of, but not really take that step to go and do. So how do you find that lifestyle?
Well, I really like it. With my partner and I, converted the van into a full-time camper van. She's a performer as well, and so it just made sense to travel around gig to gig. I don't like the idea of living in a house anymore. Okay. It's too much space. I just like being able to play a gig and know that my home is just down the road. It's an awesome feeling.
That's amazing, and that you can just pick up and go wherever you feel like going at that time.
Yeah, well, when the van's working. When the van's working, I can do that. Many issues happen when you live in a van when you're driving it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, what are the things that you've experienced that you really love about it, and that maybe some of the things that are a little bit of a downfall for you living that kind of lifestyle?
Well, the downfall, as I mentioned, is the amount of issues that can happen, cars are like that. But when you're always driving, every day we were driving to a new place, and 2 or 3 times a day we were up and moving to a different spot. There's a day spot, there's a night spot, so you're always on the go, and that's quite exhausting. I only realized how tired I was when we had to stop because of COVID. I lost all of my gigs and I had to sit still, and I was like, wow, I was really quite tired from all that moving around. But the great thing is we got to see so much of even Wollongong, where I'd been living already, but the van kind of forced us to go to the beach, to go to these different places that we wouldn't have gone if we had this nice comfy house. So if we can just pull up at the side of the beach, open the back doors and just lie in bed and look at the beach right there. And yeah, that's the great thing about it. All the different places we get to see, and we get to see it pretty much from bed, which is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. And my understanding as well is that you use your solar power in order to create and record your music. How have you found that process? Do you have any troubles when maybe the sun isn't around as much, or how does that work?
Yeah, so if it's been overcast or just bad weather for a few days, and if we've been sitting still for a few days, then you do have to worry about how much the batteries are charged. So, and recording does suck a bit of power, so it's you have to be a bit careful because the batteries can only get to a certain point, and if they get below a certain percentage, then you're going to kind of ruin them. So it did pay to be able to drive around and find a sunny spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And I guess who have been your biggest musical inspirations in your development as a musician?
I grew up listening to my mum's a huge fan of Fleetwood Mac, and Dad had us listening to Lee Kernaghan and that sort of country music. And although I wouldn't say I'm a fan of very full-on country music, I'm definitely getting pretty country. I think artists like Tracy Chapman and Annie DeFranco. I listened to Missy Higgins a lot when I was younger. Just like singer-songwriter style. Tracy Chapman, I think, is a pretty amazing songwriter, and I love that it's just her and a guitar doing a thing.
Yeah, and I guess all of those names that you've mentioned are songwriters that really bring a lot of authenticity and a lot of meaning behind their songs as well. So yeah, that's really interesting. That's great. So you're about to release as well your debut EP. Would you like to maybe tell us a little bit about your EP, what the inspiration was for the music that you've created on that EP?
I think it's the first song on the EP. It's called Fire Coming. I wrote it at the start of the year when the bushfires were happening. It's hard to believe it's all still the same year, but
I know.
it's insane. I stepped out of the van. We're in the middle of Wollongong, and I got out, and everything was just orange. The sky was orange. Like it just felt like you couldn't breathe properly, and not much was going on in terms of like the higher up people doing much about it and the climate in general. So that's where that song came from, kind of like almost a letter to people in government, saying there's a fire coming, so do something about it.
Yeah.
And the other songs spring from similar stuff, like real life experiences, whether they're my own or people in my life. I write songs often from a perspective of, me first person, but sometimes I'm not writing about my experience at all. It's like somebody who's close to me or an issue that I really find important to talk about. So yeah, that's what the EP is full of, just me pretty much venting about stuff.
No, it's great. I mean, I guess there's so much to share as well, and it's amazing. Like the more artists that I speak to, the ability that we have to use our platforms to be able to put our messages across. So to be able to speak your mind is very important.
Yeah, I think so.
So what has your creative process been like when you've been putting together these songs? So I know you said the songs are very much about your thoughts on things that are going on. But in terms of putting the songs together and choosing what songs are going to be on your EP, what has your creative process been like?
I got to work with Sid Green, who plays in the band 1920. I think he's been the drummer for Casey Chambers at some point. He's a really talented producer and songwriter and musician. So because we were in lockdown when I started working on it with him, the process was me send him the demo, him and tell him what the sort of vibe was, and then him send back the bands that he'd put around it, and then me send back the vocal, so back and forth, kind of working remotely like that. And it felt really smooth too. I think we clicked over the genre, and that was really nice. That made it a lot easier. And I was fairly easygoing too. I was really open to what he thought. In terms of picking the songs that went on to the EP, some I felt really strongly about, and others were really quite fresh, and I knew I wanted new stuff on the EP. And I was still happy with those songs, but I just wanted a bit of diversity in there. I didn't want any songs that have been playing for years already on the EP, just for myself, because I'm sick of those songs. So it was nice to have fresh stuff on there.
Oh, fantastic. Was there anyone else? So you said that you were sharing with the producer that was putting it together. Has there been anyone else involved in that releasing process as you've been moving further down the road?
Well, I mean, I see creating music and having like a solid thing to put out there as kind of like there are so many people that can go into that process. In terms of this release and what I've done so far, Lindsay Martin, who he helped, he recorded and produced my first single as Leo in 2015, and we became good friends, and he just kind of decided that I was going to do a music video for one of the songs on the EP. We just down the road, and so him and Victoria, his duo partner, they ended up being a part of this release without really the intention being planned. But it's quite a small thing, because of lockdown too. It was me and Sid mostly, and then Linz and Vic, and but there's lots of people around that have given advice or feedback on what songs they think should be on there, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And how was the experience like for you while you were in lockdown?
It was pretty bleak the first couple of weeks.
Couldn't move around with the van.
No, couldn't, because the caravan parks, everything, and people were cracking down on travelers, and it's a stealthy van, but we've still got solar panels on the roof, and we have a dog too, and you can't make him stealthy. So it was a bit depressing, really, to be staying put. But it's also a really nice place to be, for a few months. It's turned out to be about 8 months now, but I got used to it. I think everybody went through like a roller coaster ride through lockdown and all those restrictions.
Yeah. Is there anything that through all that maybe changed for you in terms of like, did it make you think differently, or is there any process changes that, maybe you've had the time to kind of consider a little bit more because you've been stuck in one place?
Yeah, I actually started doing memoir writing workshops through lockdown and restrictions, because I wanted to expand my writing. I love writing in general, and I wanted to go beyond songwriting. And the two started to feed each other, and it sounds a bit like cheesy, but I felt like I started to get to know myself better through the forced holiday. Um, and I was rehearsing a lot and became more confident somehow while sitting in the van.
Yeah.
Through COVID, I became more confident in my abilities, and I think just decided, just go for it, just do it, because this sort of thing can happen. Anything else can happen, and stop wasting time being conscious, self-conscious, and just do
I
it.
think that's absolutely amazing, and it's so many people through lockdowns have had to go a lot more internal and really learn so much more about themselves. And I think, yeah, it's amazing sort of what can come out of a crisis like that, or a pandemic.
It is,
Mm,
yeah. I think
yeah.
for a lot of people, in a certain way, it helped people, but
Mm,
there's yeah, the good and the bad.
yeah. And so you touched on the confidence side and being able to like making that decision to sort of get out there more. Has that been something that's been a challenge for you?
Yeah,
Mm,
always, and not just to do with music and performing. I've never been a
mm,
confident person. I am an introvert, and um, it's always, music is a passion, um, but I can't just leave behind that lack of confidence just because
yeah.
I'm about to step on a stage. It's been a process over 10 years or so that I've gotten to this point.
Mm,
And with the help of COVID, I've been able to go,
yeah.
just be confident in it, believe in yourself and keep
Mm,
going. Um, but yeah, it's always been something that I've had to consciously work on, to not
yeah.
feel like I'm doing a terrible job um,
Mm.
with music, and just just being present, really.
Yeah, and I mean, it's an issue that I think so many creative people do have. If
Yeah,
there is somebody that is watching this and they're experiencing that, like maybe they're having trouble kind of getting out, but they love their music and they love their songwriting. From your experience, do you think there's any kind of advice that maybe you could give to them?
I think stop worrying about what other people are thinking, because you really have no idea. I catch myself projecting stories into other people's heads, what they're thinking about me, or what they're saying to people about me, about my music. But I have no idea. And I don't think that's fair to them. And also, it's not helping me at all. So you just have to, your opinion is what matters the most, I think. And
Yeah,
you need to, really support that opinion, and just keep going, because honestly, the time really helps too.
yeah,
Time has given me confidence as I've been plodding along. I think that's important, to not give up, pretty much, to put it
yeah.
to put it in a short way.
Yeah. So are you back to gigging now since COVID started? Since lockdowns have finished?
I've I've done a few gigs, yeah. They're starting to trickle back in now. I've played 2 gigs this weekend, which is really nice. I feel exhausted. I'm so out of whack. My fingers got so even, which is so
Yeah.
strange. Um, but yeah, they're coming back slowly though, and I'm still hesitant to get too confident about work.
Yeah. And how have you found that since, you have found a little bit more confidence with the lockdown? How have you found that with those gigs it has been different? I know you said you were quite tired, but yeah, in terms of the confidence side, has that helped?
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of just saying, never mind anybody else. Just enjoy yourself. That's all I can do. Is just have a good time. Because if I'm not having a good time, then there's no point to it.
Yeah. Oh, great. And so what does the future hold for you? I know you're releasing your EP soon, but beyond that, do you have more plans to release more music or create more music in the near future?
Yeah, definitely. I'm already thinking about, following up the EP with another single or something, because I've released stuff in the past and then I've gone, well, that's it now for another
Yeah.
3 years. But it can't work like that. I need to start thinking about it now, and I am. Yeah, I'm going to be releasing stuff hopefully for a long time.
Oh, excellent. And so, from your experiences, what kind of advice would you give to any aspiring musicians that might be watching this and inspired by what you're doing?
Just keep going. Honestly, there's so much stuff that can make you want to give up or not go to that next gig, or not look for more gigs, or not write that song, but it really does pay off. Just keep at it.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you so much. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience before we do finish up?
Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to me. And just, yeah, thanks for your support. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic. And where can people find you if they're looking for your music and to support you?
The best place to go at the moment is just Facebook, where I put everything. Links to I've got a Patreon page, but if you go to Facebook, I've got links to everything there, and that's facebook.com/Leo Original Music.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Leo. It's been amazing.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.